Welcome to day 3 of how to turn your beef suet into incredible tallow skincare. I'm taking you on a step-by-step journey of how to turn your tallow into the most amazing skincare at home. I am going to jump right in. So we have done 2 wet renders on this tallow, and I'm going to begin by removing the impurities and the salt from the bottom of the tallow cake. Now this tallow cake looks a million times better than it did yesterday. Our water is more clear, and you can even see from this picture above, the tallow is more bright white with clearer water, which tells us that we're getting closer and closer to that pure, clean tallow that we're going to be using for skincare. Now, one of the biggest questions we get asked is, why do we use salt? Now, I love to use pink salt for this reason because it's so visible on the bottom of the tallow cake, which allows me to completely remove it, versus if I were to use white table salt, it would be a little bit more hard to see, which makes it a lot harder to remove from the tallow. So I love to use pink salt, but salt is going to bond to the impurities within the tallow and draw them out into our water layer, which is going to allow me to remove it all during this process of scraping the bottom, leaving me with a clean, pure tallow cake to be made into skincare. Now from this step today, we've done 2 wet renders, and we will be moving on to our dry render phase. Now, one of the things that we do is do a dry render with salt. That's a little bit different than what some other people do, and we just like to do one additional step to remove any and all impurities with that dry render phase. It's also going to help us to remove any water left in the tallow. Don't worry if we don't get it all out on this next phase. We are going to do one more dry render to remove it all. Now, once I have removed all of the impurities from the bottom of the tallow, I'm going to split it open and take a look at the inside. I am expecting to see water on the inside of the tallow, and you'll see it in some of those bright white veins that run along the inside of this tallow cake. When I squeeze the tallow cake together, some liquid comes to the surface, some water beads are going to come to that surface, which tells me there is still liquid inside of the tallow that needs to be removed, which is great because we're moving on to the dry render phase to help remove that extra liquid. One of the steadfast rules with making tallow is you have to remove all of the water. Now that it's time for the dry render phase, we're going to add our salt and our tallow back into our roaster oven at 215 degrees for 6 hours. It is crucial that we turn that heat up to allow the water to evaporate, and we don't add a lid. Once that's done, pour it into your pan, pop it in your fridge, and come back here for day 4.